Hello, my vibrant friend, and thank you for being with me today here on the podcast. I'm thrilled to have a fellow physician who I know through the real estate world, Dr. Tsung. And she is going to talk to us today about productivity, time management, and all the things that all of you professional women are usually working on. And if you're not struggling with it, you're tweaking it, right, to make things better for your days. So let me tell you a little bit about Tsung. She is an ER critical care doctor, a full-time NASA flight surgeon. She is a podcast host where she talks about issues of productivity, and she is a peak performance productivity coach for physician entrepreneurs. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you, Heather, for having me. It's a really great honor to be here. So to be talking to your audience about productivity, peak performance, anything that has to do with getting time back.
Great. Well, tell us a little bit about what you do with people and what your business is.
Yeah, so I am a full-time flight surgeon at NASA. So, my part-time is I'm a peak performance productivity coach for physician entrepreneurs so that they can unlock at a minimum 10 hours a week so they can kind of scale their business, spend time with their family as their non-negotiables, and do the things that they love. On the side, I'm also a podcast show host for Productivity MD, and I invest in real estate. Initially was active, but became passive after, really honing and focusing on coaching. Also live in Houston with my husband, and now currently we have a 20-month-old toddler, which, actually thanks to him after his birth, that's what actually 10x my productivity even further, surprisingly.
Yeah. So what was it about having a kid that made you 10x your productivity?
Well, so before that, I was, always already efficient. I was focused. If I had a goal, like I would just go for it, take micro steps and get there. For example, becoming a flight surgeon took me, I set the goal when I was 19. So I was really good at getting to the goal and developing a plan to get there. And then every day is pretty planned out until the baby came. And then the plans just don't work out the way you want it to do. You could barely order one. It's like, I need wipe warmers. And I was like, I just have to wait till one nap to get the wipe warmers ordered on Amazon. So yeah, it didn't work out. And then I was doing real estate. We were underwriting, 8-unit properties, 17-unit properties. We weren't making traction. And I felt like my identity was kind of lost as a type A person, maybe, or high performance professional. My identity was lost, and I became a mom. I was feeding, cleaning, pumping, and all the time and sleeping.
And there's a lot of chaos there in that world too, right?
Yeah. So, 2 months in, I think when the baby was 2 months in, I reached out to my coach and I was like, there's got to be another way. And that's when I further accelerated my productivity by outsourcing ruthlessly. I hired an executive assistant. I hired a social media team. I switched over a podcast team that could do more, and a house manager. And currently we have a chef who comes to meal prep as well. A house manager who deals with adult and baby stuff too. And so essentially just outsourced everything so I could focus on raising the baby, but having other people to help me progress in my other professional goals.
Nice. That's really cool. So those are some ideas. And what, when you work with people, you tell them, I'm going to help you create 10 hours. What are some of the strategies for that?
The first thing we usually do is really focusing on, there's immediate strategies and there's long-term strategies. The simplest way is to see what you can eliminate. And the first thing we do is look at a life vision. So what that means is that we look at where you want to be in your life when you're 85, 90 with full, vibrant, vitality, health, mental capacity. Then we look at who do you want to spend your time with? How much passive income or current business you have? What are you contributing to? What hobbies do you have, or what are you learning? What subjects are you learning, or instrument, or what are you reading? What are you impact would you have had or would you want to have in the world? What are you teaching if you have kids or grandkids? What are you teaching them? and how is the relationship with your spouse. So those are just initial examples of the details like we drill down into. And then we look at what you're currently doing right now and if it's even going to take you there. If it's not even going to take you there, then we eliminate it or we pivot so that we can actually get you there. So that's really the first step. And then drilling down to 5 goals of the year. First one should be you. Second should be spouse if you have any. Third one should be your kids if you have any. And then maybe 2 professional goals. And then we pick one major goal and then we just go for it for the rest of the year. And then most importantly, we take a look at a time audit after that, a time audit of what you're doing through the week, through the day, and then seeing how you structure things and seeing what can be delegated, eliminated, and what cannot be, and then see how we can outsource that out. That's really the main strategy. And then on top of that, it is practicing discipline, mindset, and distraction proofing your environment and supercharging your sleep, because with enough sleep, then you have the discipline. And with enough sleep, you can finish your top 3 priorities in 30 minutes to an hour versus 5 hours.
Nice. So tell me what a spouse goal is. What would be an idea for a spouse goal?
Yeah, I can tell you mine for this year. Actually, I said I want to increase communication, compassion, passion, fun with my husband. I want to, create just a non-judgmental relationship with nonviolent communication. So what that means is that, I'm focused on coaching. He's focused on real estate. But in the past, I still help out a little bit in the real estate. And then we have very different working styles. And then also with the baby too, when the baby came, it was like a 50-50. It used to be like a more 50-50 split. And now we just delegated what our strong suits are. And then we take ownership of that 100%. But sometimes that 50-50 split sometimes comes in. And sometimes when you're tired, you have assumptions, you blame, you go into the blaming mode, like, your spouse not doing enough, etc. So this year is really to create that, to drop that judgment for me and my spouse, and then have regular weekly Sunday fun, what we call Sunday fun day sessions, where we talk about, number 1, what we're grateful for each other the past week. Number 2, looking at the upcoming week, the support I need from you. So that's increasing communication, and that's a productivity peak performance tactic as well, to touch base with your spouse on Sunday or Saturday to look for the support that you need, so there's no miscommunication, like who's picking up who needs to be home by when. And then the third thing is we plan celebration, fun activities together.
I think that does kind of fall by the wayside when we get so busy and then you add kids into the mix, that friendship, not keeping the friendship going, when you don't do the fun things. It's easy.
Yeah. I would say sometimes we just can't plan. Like we've been with each other for so long that you can't think of anything novel anymore except to go out to eat, right? Even if you like have a weekly date schedule, you're just like, let's just go eat or whatever.
Yeah.
There is a book called Couples Adventure Challenge on Amazon. It's a scratch off day book. I don't know if you've heard of it before.
I have. Yeah.
There's one for a family, but we get ideas. We scratch it off, and then we alternate planning weekly. We have nannies that come. We have weekly lunch dates, and then we have weekly weekend dates, and we have nanny that comes to cover for 4 to 6 hours. And so as an example, yesterday I scratched off this adventure date book, and essentially the idea was we went to a park, sidewalk. I bought sidewalk chalk for the very first time in my life. I think I've never done that.
We were just beginning.
And then we both laid on the ground. We traced each other's pose on the ground. And then essentially we had to draw in each other's tracing on the floor to how we felt about each other.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love that. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So it was like a beautiful park. We both drew various things, and then we talked about what this meant to us. And so it was a great start to a date. And then it's so funny, what he drew was, he put a rock and then he drew a star, which is like a rock star. He picked up a pebble and put it in.
That's great.
just check it out for, whoever's listening. If you're like tired of ideas or coming up with creative novel, it's really the novelty that you want in the relationship. When you have a stable relationship, you're less stressed, you can be more productive. This is why we're also talking about this too, because you're not stress eating so much perhaps. Check out, and this saves you time from planning too. So check out this book and see what you think.
Great. I'll make sure we have it in the show notes. So
okay,
that'll be amazing. So how do you delegating? I see what you're saying about delegating is a great way to get more time. And I'm really impressed at how far you've gone with this. And how do your with your clients, are they willing to go all the way to delegate all the things, or are there, pieces that they want to keep, or I don't know. What do you find?
There's a spectrum of both. I think it takes time to gain the trust for your assistant to gain your trust. And then sometimes you're not really quite sure what can be delegated. So I would say that I have people who have definitely learned more and more that if it's not in their zone of genius, what we call it, what they've been trained up to, the highest capability, then they're always thinking, can I have my assistant do it? Can my assistant do it? If not, how can he or she learn how to do it? And a lot of times also, we often I think the major roadblock is, before that was trust. You build up the trust, you sign a confidentiality agreement. Number 2 is you feel like you have to learn something, learn a system, learn social media, learn this before you can teach your VA. Though it's actually the other way around. Either you hire an expert VA who is an expert at short-term rental management like mine, who managed my short-term rental for 4 years before. She's also done coaching. Her prior client has done coaching for years, so she knows how to interact with, coaching clients. Or you hire a very resourceful growth mindset VA who's very motivated, and they go learn and they take the course and they go teach you. For example, I have my assistant learn a course on, leads, offers, QuickBooks. I show her real estate. Well, actually, my first assistant didn't know cash on cash calculator. So I showed him how to log into the course to do the cash on cash, etc. So
for evaluating real estate deals for people who don't know that world.
Yeah. So you can hire an expert, or you can hire somebody who's willing to learn for you.
Nice. I think sometimes when people are starting their businesses small, you do a lot of the things. I've gotten to the point now where my staff, there are enough new versions of the programs we were using that I went in to do something myself. And I thought, I thought this is a win. I don't know how to do this anymore. I can't. They've changed it. They changed the pathway. I don't know how it works. What the heck am I doing in this program? I have a VA that does this and is an expert at it. So it is very a nice way to do things.
Yeah, because your zone of genius coaching, and that's where you want to be. Your zone of genius is like, it's actually targeting one-on-one interaction or group interaction, not the back end system of how everything works to get you to where they are, or booking or calendar management, etc.
Yeah. One of the things I found too is some things that I felt at times oppressed by, like cooking all the time, because healthy food is very important to me. But now I cook 3 days a week. So when I go in to, get out the vegetables and start chopping the onion, I'm like, this is amazing. I love it. And then the other days, someone else is doing it, or we've ordered something, or so finding that balance too, where, you're keeping the things that you like or in a manner that you like. And
yeah, that's actually another one of the obstacle actually that I see in some of my clients when they want to outsource some, cooking, for example. They feel like they don't want to teach somebody how to cook or their flavors and things like that. That's very, very common. And definitely there's a training phase that goes along with it initially for them to learn your taste. But it is possible. I've trained my house manager, and prior, I have a more full-time one and 2 part-time ones. And they've all been able to take your instructions when you have like a manual or a checklist of your food principles, for example.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the chef as well. Currently, I do have a professional chef just kind of take the burden from the house manager who does baby and adult meal prep. And
Mhm.
he's learning. It's been about 2 months, maybe. He's still learning because the baby
Okay.
keeps changing. We're
Right.
just like thinking of ideas to trick him to eat things. But eventually you'll realize that when you don't have to worry about things like that, when things are set in the manual and people just knows to cook things to a certain degree, so not overcook it, or they know you like high fat, high vegetables, high acid, or whatever. That's me. It really can set you free, and that's the reason why I can do this podcast, or that's the reason I can do coaching. It's because all my food is already ready to go, and it's just heated on the hot plate, ready for me whenever I'm done with this podcast.
Nice. Do you find that people are surprised at what they're spending their time on when they do the time audit, or when they, are say, I don't have time to do the things I want to do? Can you
Yes.
just
For example, there was one mom who was deep into real estate as well, professional, realized that she was spending 17 hours a week doing household stuff. Not like spending time with kids, not that.
Yeah.
It's grocery shopping, it's meal prepping, it's cleaning, and it's just like so many things you have to like organize, or talk to the school, talk to the coaches, or talk to whatever classes, that, the kids are in. You're the first point of contact. So 17 hours a week, that is quite a bit. That is like, if you're counting weekdays, that's like 3 hours a day that you could free up. The biggest barrier is that I can do it faster than other people, than if I teach, or nobody else can do it as well as I can, essentially, or the way I want. That's another limiting mindset that I see a lot. So depending on what your hourly rate is in your current job, like for example, a physician has an hourly rate, let's say on average, maybe $200 an hour. They're
Mhm.
spending $600 a day on average. If they're doing 3 hours a day on these housework, grocery shopping, they're spending $600 a day. That's crazy. That's like 3,500 a week. That's
Yeah.
where you can just 3,500 a week. I'm just like doing this real time now. That's like over 10K, 14K a month. That's crazy. I think, if you
Yeah.
think of it like that. But if you can outsource to an assistant, outsource to a house manager, cleaner, nanny, whatever, driver, hiring drivers for your kids too. And then you can free up, at least imagine if you have 3 hours extra to think about your business idea, to scale, to create courses, to dive into real estate, to dive into deals, etc.
I love that you point that out about how much you would get paid for your work, because sometimes people say, well, I can't afford I can't afford this assistant, or I can't afford this help. And when you look at comparing it to what you get paid, then maybe you can't afford not to, or all of a sudden, even someone who's a little higher priced in that position looks like a very good deal now. In the Midwest, we're always looking for a good deal, and so I have to say that.
So as an example, I don't know if this is going to be considered a lot or not a lot, in other parts of the country. I started my house manager at 20 an hour, gave her a raise up to 22 an hour. And then the assistant can range from, 4 to 6 to expert level 10 an hour.
Yeah.
That is, I think, less than US minimum wage, right?
Right.
So
Right. Yeah.
from the Philippines. So just imagine, let's say $5 an hour or $40 a day, somebody can do things for you for 8 hours a day. I mean, that's amazing. And then if you hire an expert level VA, maybe $10 an hour, $80 a day, who's going to be doing all this leading, who's going to lead you to where you want to go, and who takes away the planning for you. I mean, that will just scale you, whatever you want to do faster, or maybe it's worth it to pay so you actually spend quality time with your kids, which is a big part why I hired somebody when I outsource it. So I don't have to, instead of washing pump parts and bottles, I am playing with my child. Like, I think it's just like, it's worth the money for me. It's really precious for me. I often tell my clients that you will get to the same results, but you're paying either with your time or you're paying money. And outsourcing is the one way to get time back, to buy back time, essentially.
Yeah. Nice. Since you work with physician entrepreneurs, do you find that they have trouble setting boundaries on their time? Like if they want to spend more time with their family, but of course, when you have a business, you can think about it 24/7, right? If you want.
Yes, a lot, all the time. And I think that is probably one of the reasons why maybe some of them are not as productive because, people work really good under pressure and they get things done. And then, the amount of time you spend on something just kind of expands out to the amount of time you give it, right? So,
Yeah.
as an example, if you don't have a shutdown routine, if you don't force yourself to cut off at like 4 or 5 p.m., then you will just keep going and like dilly-dally around until 4 or 5 p.m. But if
Yeah.
you tell yourself that I have, night before, we set the top 3 priorities, and those top 3 priorities, at least 1 or 2 need to move the needle on your top 5 goals or your one big goal. And if you set a time that you absolutely had to finish 1 or 2 or maybe all 3 by 8 a.m. before you actually start your work, then you would have won for the day. All right. So that is one way I do it. I split my days into quadrant. Wake up. My ideal wake up time is 4:35 a.m. Cold shower, do my bulletproof matcha, start on my top 3 priorities until 8 a.m. and then go to work at NASA. And then later on, my cutoff time is strict at like 5 o'clock. And then from 5 to 7, well, really, I don't do any work after 5. 5 to 7:30 is like baby time. And then 7:30 and on, maybe 9 is like reflection time, relaxing time, husband. Because if you work on your work before bed, you're often ruminating in various thoughts. And then it's hard for you to go to sleep or you don't have restful sleep too. So it's wind down time, blue blockers, all that.
Nice. So blue blockers makes you think about technology. So we're so easily distracted by technology. That's got to play into some of this time management stuff, right?
Oh, yeah. It's huge. It's so huge because the distraction that people get from their dings and notifications just pulls them away. It took me a while to work on it myself. It does take massive action if you want to really distraction proof your environment. The very beginning, when I first started it, I would put my phone outside my office. I would get a kitchen timer and do a Pomodoro technique, which is a 25-minute work cycle, 5-minute break, 4 cycles of that. Then you do a 15-minute break. You go outside, look at nature, white space, or a screensaver, beautiful scenery.
Mm-hmm.
And then now I've progressed to where I listen to brain.fm. There's a focus mode, recovery mode. I do the focus mode. It kind of entrains your brainwaves to like optimal brainwave state to help you focus. And then the massive action that accelerated my productivity is that I have a business phone, which helps me. If that's on, that's okay. My personal phone, there's usually no notifications. All the badges are turned off. I have no red little badge icons with numbers.
Nice.
Trying to get my attention. There's nothing that comes to no lock screen notifications, no drop down, the one that flashes down. There's like nothing. And all of the inbox, basically I don't know if you'll be able to see this. It's also in black and white as well.
Oh, yeah.
Links.
Grace put it at the grayscale. Yeah.
It's always in grayscale. And then if you look at my home screen, you can't see this if you're listening to this, but if you look at my home screen, there's minimal apps. And there's no messaging on it either. Like you don't see text message, only the phone. All of the messaging goes into the second screen. There's an inbox category. So then the inbox category has message, WhatsApp, Messenger, Skype, Discord, whatever, all the emails.
Nice.
So they don't, again, have any notifications of new things coming in. And I batch check them maybe twice a day if I have to, then 3 times a day. But it's always batch checked. Like, okay, now I'm ready. I finished my top 3. Now I'm ready to check on these messages because sometimes throughout the day I do have to check messages with my assistant too. So That's when I batch check it. But yeah, I think that would be the biggest thing. If you really want massive action, maybe get a separate business phone. And so people can reach you for emergencies. And when people call me, they will reach me through my personal too, if they have emergencies.
Sure.
But otherwise, turn off everything else. And you'll realize that rarely I haven't had an emergency that happened and people won't text you if there's an emergency. So
Right. Yeah, I love that. if anyone is curious about trying the grayscale on their phone, just Google how to do it on your phone, because honestly, they hide it a little bit through a few steps because they don't really want you to grayscale and ignore your phones, but it's there. It's available.
Yeah, it's what we call, if you really want to be distraction, like a distraction ninja, you want to basically desensitize yourself from dopamine. And then grayscaling your phone is a way to desensitize yourself from the dopamine hits of these colors. That's one of them. Another way is, on Sundays, you can just not look at your phone for the whole day, or maybe start with 2 hours or 4 hours or 8 hours. And then you'll realize nothing big ever happened when you didn't look at your phone.
Yeah, so good. I actually, I did grayscale my phone too, and then I would pick it up to do something, and I looked at it gray, and then I'd think, I don't think there's anything here I really need to do, and put it down again. I mean, it was really very powerful. Yeah, it's so easy to be distracted.
Yeah, when you don't have, even if you have the badges on with the numbers, but if your phone is grayscale, it's like, it doesn't like call your attention so much, like begging you to check. So I would say, yeah, if it's a one tip, I would grayscale your phone. And it's a shortcut that you can change back and forth with photos and videos that you want to view. Like, it's a shortcut. You just click the button 3 times and it goes to color. So you don't have to worry about it. I know some people are like, what if I need to look at, photos and videos? Yeah. It's a very quick switch.
Okay, so, great.
And then do not look at your phone the first 30 minutes of the day, because then you'll be reactive instead of proactive until you've at least done one, hopefully all 3 top priorities first. And that's why you set it the day before and pull up all of the items, slides, PDF, documents, worksheets, whatever the night before. So you're not going into your email to find it and get distracted. And last thing I'll say is to download Inbox when ready for Gmail. It's a Chrome extension if you use Gmail. I don't know if you've heard of that before, that extension. Do you use Gmail?
I do.
Okay. It's like my biggest productivity hack for email. And, I don't know if you experienced this, but before that, I would be stressed out trying to go into my Gmail because I knew I was going to be distracted and reactive. So once you download this extension, basically when you log in, it's blank. Like nothing shows up. There's no email that shows up until you press the button Show Inbox when you're ready. So what I would do, I go in, I'm not distracted. It looks blank. It's beautiful. I just compose, or I search for the important emails from the person I knew I had to respond to, like important emails from real estate, maybe your property manager, or important emails from, I don't know, your university, from your school, your hospital, the manager. And only those pop up, and you just respond to those only, and you close it out and then finish your top 3 priorities of the day.
Oh, that's a good one. What's the name of that extension again?
Inbox when ready.
Inbox when ready. All right. This is also in the show notes if people want to look at this later. I haven't even heard of that. That is amazing.
Yes. It's like now I can go into my email without like always like, before was like, I have to have the discipline and have to have like, I have to fight it. I have to fight it. I can't let myself get distracted, but you're scared to go in because you don't know if you're strong enough that day.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah. So this basically,
I have to look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it engineers that out. It's just a system you install, engineers your own discipline out of the way.
Nice. That's good. Make it easy, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do look at their phones first thing in the morning, and it's a tough one. If it's in
grayscale, it'll be easier.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah.
It takes practice.
If it's a new idea to you, definitely try not opening your phone when you wake up, because that's a time suck for sure.
Mm-hmm. Agree.
Yeah, and I love that you said that it makes you more reactive for the day too. So really you have sort of, I don't want to say you wrecked your day, but you have, by staying away from it, you're going to have a better day in general, right?
You're just not reacting to other people's requests. You're not letting other people's comments give you start giving you attention residue, if that makes sense. You want a clear, clean slate at the beginning of the day to tackle what you already set out the night before. Then when you're ready, then in the afternoon, typically that's when I take calls and meetings. Then when you're ready, all right, I'm ready. I already did my top 3. Then you allow those requests to come in and you can respond and serve, and that's okay. But if you can just get 1 hour of focus time, like peak flow state time, it is better than 4 or 5 hours of distracted time with trying to finish something.
Nice. Well, I think we should end there, because if people, like, if there's a lot in here, maybe you're going to want to go back and look at it again, or take a listen again, or read the transcript. But I think what you said was gold there. If you can protect an hour in the morning to work towards your goals, that's really going to move the needle for you. Thank you so much for being here and sharing all this.
Yeah, of course. And it's really awesome to be here. And for the audience, out of everything you've heard from this, please just pick one thing to do right after this. Don't wait until tomorrow or the next day, whether that's Googling how to grayscale your phone, or whether that's downloading Inbox When Ready extension, or in your head, set a non-negotiable time to cut off, shut down your computer, or set a time that's non-negotiable in the morning. Like, hey, for 30 minutes, first 30 minutes of the day, I will not look at my phone, and I will do one task that's going to move the needle on my priority. And that would already change your trajectory exponentially. And one last thing I will say is, a lot of people try to wake up early by cutting off their sleep early when they didn't go to bed early enough. And I would say, I used to do that, try to wake up at 4 or 5 to do things. But now, if I happen to go to bed late, I still make sure I get an hour and a half of deep and REM sleep, 7 to 8 hours. I wouldn't cut my sleep short just to think that maybe I will be productive, because you'll be less productive that way, actually.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that. I think it wasn't that long ago that's what productivity people were saying. Like, just cut back on your sleep a little bit, and we know that doesn't work.
Yes. That's like the foundation. If that's not right, nothing else is right.
Yeah. That. All right. So Dr. Ann Tsung has been with us today and shared so much gold here. So I really appreciate that. And so some of you I know are thinking that you might want to work with her. So I will make sure that all her social media and website and everything, all the contacts will be in there that she would like to share. But Anne, could you also just say them out loud for people who are only going to listen?
Yeah, of course. So please go to productivitymd.com. Over there, you can find the links to the podcast. You can book a discovery coaching call with me to see if one-on-one coaching is actually right for you. Or you can contact me on social media platforms, Ann Tsung, Tsung, MD, on Instagram, Facebook. And we have resources of a resource list that we can share with you as well, of everything that we talked about, things I sent to my clients. So I'm happy to share that with you.
Terrific. Thank you again. Thanks everyone for being with us today. And I know that with all the professional women out there, if you picked one thing here, it could really make a big change in your day and your week. So thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Much appreciate the time and the presence of your audience. Thank you.
Thank you.